you very much for the introduction. And if anybody needs to take a nap, feel free to doze off for a little bit. I'm fine with that. So my name is Seth Davis, certified adult sleep coach based here in Denver. Actually, pull my slide. Yeah, so I actually got into sleep coaching because I was a bad sleeper for at least 15 years. So I was very familiar with the night struggling, kind of staring at the ceiling, worrying about sleep, tossing and turning, all those fun things. So I wanted to become, first of all, I wanted to solve my own issues, and so I became a sleep coach, and then I wanted to give that knowledge to other people to help them achieve rest as well. So developed a passion for sleep over the years, and that's kind of what I'm here to share with you today. And so what we're going to focus on today is that we'll talk about why sleep is a key ingredient for self-care. I think that's really important as a caregiver. We'll talk about, I've identified 5 common sleep challenges that might be familiar to caregivers. So we'll kind of walk through those, and then I'll give you some tips for how to hopefully improve your sleep if you're dealing with those. And then I'll leave you with some of my favorite quick tips to improve sleep quality. So if you're struggling with sleep quality, I'll give you some tips you can take home with you as well. So first of all, I wanted to share this quote that I think fits here well. I've heard some people share some similar things when it comes to caregiving, but self-care means giving the world the best of you rather than what's left of you. And I think as a caregiver, sometimes you do, your cup kind of runs dry a little bit, and you're giving a lot of yourself, you're giving your time, you're giving your effort, you're giving your personal time, you're giving your opportunity to sleep sometimes. And so it's about making sure that your cup is replenished, and part of that is through sleep and rest and relaxation. So that's what brings me here today, is to kind of help you to maybe get some ideas for how to fill your cup. So talking about giving the world the best of you, I put together a few definitions of what that might look like for people. So for one, it's being more patient and compassionate with those you care for. And I've heard people mention patience and compassion as things that are virtues. Being mentally sharp for making important decisions. As we talked about, you need to be kind of making these decisions for the people and with the people that you're caring for. Being emotionally resilient when we're facing challenges. I think with caregiving, there's just a lot of challenges that come up on a regular basis, so just being more resilient with those. Being more present for moments that matter with friends and loved ones. Thank you. Physically energized for hands-on care and daily activities, and just more enthusiasm and energy to enjoy those your hobbies, interests, and relationships. So not only being there, being present for the people you're caring for, but also being there for yourself and being able to enjoy life outside of caregiving and just normal life as well. So those are kind of my ideas of what giving the world the best of you looks like. So as I mentioned, I think there's multiple challenges that come along with caregiving. I haven't been in the caregiving shoes myself, but I have watched my neighbors down the street, my sister-in-law. So I've kind of seen secondhand what goes along with it. So different challenges. So one of the first ones is frequent nighttime awakenings. And so with caregiving, that could be emergency calls, routine checks, helping with basic needs. So in some cases, you may have to kind of have your nights disrupted by things like that. And then for other people, it's just a natural thing. I wake up multiple times a night, tossing and turning, being frustrated with that. So I see that a lot as well when I'm working with clients. So does anybody here, whether it's through caregiving or just naturally kind of deal with frequent nighttime awakenings? Okay, I see a lot of hands, and so it's very common. I was very familiar with that myself. So one of my first tips for this is to look at how we're handling these awake periods. Some people tend to kind of just toss and turn, try harder to sleep, worry about being awake, be frustrated. And so when we're like that, sometimes being in that struggle for the whole night can lead us to feel exhausted the next day. It feels like you were in a battle the whole night. And so it's just an uncomfortable, exhausting situation. So one of the first things I recommend is just doing a quick check-in with yourself. So just ask yourself, if you are awake, am I feeling comfortable? Am I feeling calm? Am I still kind of drowsy? And if that's the case, it's okay to just kind of lie there and relax at night. But if you're struggling, and by struggling I mean you're frustrated, you are tossing and turning, you're watching the clock, struggling with a racing mind, any of those things, then it's probably time to go to plan B. So in this case, kind of reducing the struggle at night, I would say maybe it's time to go into a different environment. So kind of leave the bedroom for a little while. Make sure that the environment is calm and dim and enjoy and relaxing. Maybe have an activity lined up. So for some people, it is reading a book. For some people, it's watching a TV show. For some people, it's doing Legos, like the ones that are on the table here. I've had somebody do adult coloring books too, but whatever it is you find calm and enjoyable is a good time to spend that time rather than struggling. Try not to watch the clock. A lot of people will stare at the clock and do mental math, and if I get this many more hours of sleep, I'll be okay. But if I don't, I'm going to, I'm not going to feel very good tomorrow. So try not to watch the clock. And then if you need to, if there's a thought that's nagging at you during the night, it's okay to just jot that down in a notebook and kind of let it go. So if you've done that, you've kind of separated yourself from the struggle. Then when you feel sleepy and you feel calm and more calm, that's the right time to get back into bed. So when you do this, when you let go of that struggle at night, it not only helps you to feel better the next day because you weren't struggling during that time, but it can gradually teach your mind that being awake at night is okay. It's not a threat to you, and gradually that can actually help to reduce the number of awakenings. So that's kind of the process I would follow if you are dealing with frequent nighttime awakenings. And then I'd also focus on your recovery this time, and also how to maximize the sleep that you are getting, even if it is disrupted. So the first thing I would look at is maintaining high quality sleep, and I'll share some tips about that a little bit later. But just making sure that when you are sleeping, that the sleep is high quality. Embracing rest and recovery the next day. So as you are, even if you have a night that's disrupted, how can we give ourselves the opportunity to rest and recover the next day? And I'll give you some tips for that as well. Maintaining a consistent sleep schedule as often as possible. So for this, it might be tempting to sleep in extra late one day and to go to bed extra early one night, take an extra long nap this day, but that really can kind of confuse your circadian rhythm, your internal clock, which can lead to not functioning well and kind of disrupting sleep and everything else going forward. So try to maintain a consistent sleep-wake schedule when possible. And then finally, the next day, just aim to get a little bit of physical activity and sunlight if possible, just to help you recover and kind of have a good day, even if the sleep was disrupted the night before. The next one is hypervigilance. So we'll see if it sounds familiar to anybody, but if you are frequently wondering, what phone call is going to come next, what's around the corner, sometimes it can lead to being vigilant and always on alert. So when it's like this, it's hard to kind of shift out of emergency mode and let yourself rest enough to fall asleep. So sometimes, this can happen with caregiving. I also have worked with some physicians who are on call, and so they're always, kind of wondering, when's the next call going to come? When am I going to have to respond to an emergency or whatever? So they're just always kind of vigilant. So with this one, it's really about telling your mind and your body that we're safe and we're okay, and that we don't need to be on alert at all times. So I am going to give you a few tips here, a few pieces of advice, and the goal here is really just to add to your toolbox. So, these are not going to apply to everybody, but if you notice something that could be useful for you here, or that I could probably work on that, then let's add it to your toolbox, and you can just practice it over time. So you don't have to do everything. Not everything is applicable to you, but just giving you some ideas. So the first one is grounding techniques, and the most well-known one that I have is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. So if you're feeling kind of a little bit agitated, a little bit alert, you could just kind of redirect your focus to the present moment and just say, what are 5 things that I can see? And what are 4 things that I can hear? What are 3 things I can touch? What are 2 things that I can smell? And what's 1 thing that I can taste? So kind of just be there with all your senses. You don't have to judge what you're noticing, but just kind of notice it and then move on to the next thing. And when we do this, it just allows you to kind of shift from anxiety and worrying about things just to being there in the present. So just an easy way to engage your senses. Next up, we have a safe space visualization. Say that 5 times. And this is basically just mentally rehearsing yourself being in a safe situation. So for some people, it's being guided through walking through a meadow, and it's a safe place. We're feeling that we're smelling the flowers, sunlight. And just kind of being there in this mental environment can kind of help with help us to feel safe physically and mentally. Daytime exercise. So when we are on alert, our stress hormones are going. We're feeling kind of ramped up and vigilant. So exercise is a good way to kind of reduce stress hormones and allow ourselves to kind of lower that physiological arousal. So exercise is a great thing, as well as environmental optimization. So making your environment feel safe and comfortable. So with this, it's controlling the light and the noise, using comforting scents. Some people have put a photo of a loved one next to their bedside table, just so that that's something the last thing they see before they go to sleep. The artwork can be kind of calm and comforting. So these are all just kind of things you can use to reduce that hypervigilance and just let yourself know that it's safe and you don't have to be on alert 24/7. Third is stress, and this is a very broad topic. There's lots of different reasons for stress with caregiving. It could be because of the financial kind of decisions that need to be made, healthcare decisions that need to be made. I've heard a lot of people just mention stressful kind of situations. And then even away from caregiving, there's a lot of stress in daily life, family, finances, work, all those things. And a lot of times stress follows us into bed at night. So I'm sure a lot of people have been in bed and kind of a thought popped in there and like, oh no, I need to worry about that. And then, kind of the rest of the night is this tossing and turning and discomfort. So as much as possible, we want to work on letting go of that stress before we go to bed so it's not just lingering as we're trying to sleep. I think it's useful to kind of visualize how all this works. So that there's something called the stress response, and this is where you might have heard of it called the flight or flight response 2, which is where we're stressed about something and our body tries to protect us from it. So either to fight or flee from this thing. Maybe it's financial stress, maybe it's a real thing or imagined, but whatever it is, our body tries to respond to it with sweaty palms, racing heart rate, faster brain waves, all those things. Breathing gets shallower, comes from our chest instead of our belly. So when we are in that state, it's obviously hard to relax and let ourselves rest and fall asleep. Luckily, we have something called the relaxation response, which is basically the opposite of the stress response. And the stronger our relaxation response is, the more it helps us to be able to rest and calm down. So you can kind of think of it like a muscle, where the more that we exercise it, the stronger it gets, and then it's there for us when we need it. So up here I put, the relaxation response helps to lower our heart rate, lower our oxygen consumption. It can help with physical things like lowering our stress hormones, lowering inflammation, and mental things. So it can help us with insomnia, depression, anxiety, as well. So the key is we want to work on practicing and strengthen this relaxation muscle so it's there for us at nighttime. There are a lot of different ways we can do this. So some people do it through prayer. Some people do it through yoga. I had a few other ideas that I wanted to put here first. And so we started this whole thing off with breathing and breath. So when we practice deep breathing, that allows our body to calm down. It allows our nervous system to calm down. And it basically tells our mind and our body that it's okay to slow down and breathe because we are not being chased by a tiger. We are okay. So it comes in many different forms, box breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, belly breathing, mindful breaths, counting breaths. Has anyone here done, kind of has a regular breathing practice? I see a lot of hands. So perfect. So you're strengthening your relaxation muscle there. The next one is scanning. So with scanning, basically you are focusing on each part of your body, kind of working your way from head to toe or toe to head and letting go of stress, letting go of tension, and being mindful and just focusing on what is happening in your body at the moment. So there's different forms of this. There's progressive muscle relaxation, there's body scan meditation, there's yoga nidra, which is a form of deep relaxation. And these are all things you can practice daily, even if you have 5 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is, just working to release some of this tension. And finally, mindfulness. I'm sure this has become much more well-known over the last 10 years or more. And it's basically just being present and focusing on what's here and now. So it can be as simple as just focusing on our breaths, like I talked about a minute ago. the body scan meditation, focusing on our body, mindful walking, so just going outside and smelling the flowers that are blooming right now, or rain, or just being aware of what's happening right now. And then the 5 senses exercise I mentioned earlier, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. So these are all ideas for you. Again, we don't need to do all of these things, but if there's one or two that feel right to you, and that could be, or you've tried them before and you enjoy them, these are things that we can do just to strengthen that relaxation muscle. Number 4, racing mind. Who here has ever had a racing mind at night? I figured I was going to see most hands. And this is something, I think we all have it. I had it just a couple nights ago. And so when your head hits the pillow at night, this is when, it's dark, it's quiet, we finally get the chance to relax. And this is when your mind decides to start solving problems and start worrying about things and thinking about that thing you need to do tomorrow. And just very inconvenient timing for our minds. So this is something I see often with clients. When I work with companies, I ask the employees, what's one of the number one topics that you have trouble with? And that usually it's racing mind. So if you raised your hand, you're in good company. So a few things to slow down the racing mind. So the first thing is to realize that during the daytime, this is when we can start to let go, to start to clear the mind, so that when we go to bed at night, it's more geared toward sleeping. So think of this as, we have all these tabs open in our mental browser, and we want to close those before it's time for sleep. So one of the first things we can do is just get an old-fashioned notebook. And so during the day, we can write down, here are some things that are bothering me. Here are some worries I have, or here's a problem that I'm trying to solve. And then you can write down some things you could actually do about that problem. So just some bullet points. I could talk to my accountant. I could talk to a friend, do some Google research, whatever it is. Just kind of let your mind know that you're listening to its problems. You can write down what you are, tasks. If you have, I need to remember to do this, I need to remember to do that. You can write those down during the day or before bedtime, and just let those things go on paper and trust that you can come back to them tomorrow and that you've stored them until the next day. So that's one good thing to train your brain to do that during the day. The next thing is during the night. So if you notice that you have kind of those thoughts starting to swirl around in there, I like to do mental visualization, mental imagery. And so this is pretty simple to do. You can lie there or sit there and just go somewhere in your mind. So whether it's taking a favorite walk and just seeing that park bench I like to sit on, there's the lake that I like to stare at, or that favorite beach vacation that I took, and kind of remembering the sand on your feet. I've had people who liked to play a round of golf in their minds. I've had somebody who liked to take an airplane flight because they found it relaxing. So wherever you like to go, just go there with all your senses and just be there with just remembering things or just imagining things. Staying in the present. So again, some things I already mentioned: mindful breathing. Use progressive muscle relaxation, which is kind of a form of body scan where you're tensing and releasing muscles, and then catching and releasing thoughts. So you can just kind of label the thought, oh, that's a worry, and then you can just picture it as a cloud floating by in the sky and just let it drift past. Or I had somebody who he used storage containers, so like a floating storage container. He'd put the thought in a storage container and just let it float on past. So these are all ways to kind of deal with the racing mind, clear it, work with the thoughts, and just kind of let yourself rest. Finally, shortage of personal time. So I'm sure this is very common. You're giving a lot of your time. Sometimes that means your time to sleep. Sometimes that means your time for hobbies that you enjoy or whatever it is. And so sometimes we can reclaim some moments of that for self-care. Even if you don't have a lot of time, we can do small changes. And I think this also correlates to rest too. So when we think of rest, many times, we think of just lying on the couch and watching Netflix or something. But there's actually 7 different types of rest that they've identified. There's mental, spiritual, physical, social, sensory, creative, and emotional. And for each of these, we can do different things. So for example, with creative rest, if you like to express yourself, We can do art. We can do music. We can write, kind of get it out that way. If it is social, that could be spending more time with friends and loved ones who kind of fill your bucket, or creating boundaries and saying, you know what, I need a little bit more solo time, so I'm going to say no to a few social engagements. Physical rest, that could be active stretching, that could be taking a walk, it could be taking a nap, or it could be just kind of nourishing yourself with good food. I think my question for you right now is just looking at yourself. What types of these rests could you use right now? Maybe if there's just one that you feel, maybe I need more of that. Which one do you need more of now? What's keeping you from getting it? And then how can I plan to get more of that in the next week or so? So just make an actual plan just to get a little bit more rest for your own needs. Finally, my quick sleep tips. These are things that will never go out of style. Healthy dose of morning sunlight and daytime sunlight is going to help with your internal clock. It's going to help with your mood, your energy, and your sleep at night. Moderate exercise at least 3 to 5 times per night. Again, helps with sleep, stress, mood. And quick, enjoyable bedtime routine that you look forward to. So we want our nights to be something that we look forward to. It's our me time. So this is kind of where you get a chance to do whatever makes you feel like you're getting some me time before you bed. Make sure that our environment is cool, dark, quiet, and comfortable. So just picture your ideal sleep sanctuary, and if it's not there right now, just take some little steps to create that environment. And then just, again, consistent sleep-wake times as much as possible. That is something that's always going to be useful for your sleep. It's going to make you feel better during the day, and it just kind of helps your body to know the appropriate times to do everything in terms of, release hormones, have energy, go to sleep. It just helps your body to know. So I'd like to thank everybody again for having me here, and hopefully you picked up a few tips to use on yourself at night, and here's to giving the world more of the best of you.